Not quite yet. Written by Nickollo Winters. Chapter 4. I started worrying about where Gabriel was after 6 p.m. passed by, and he finally showed up at 7 with a bruised cheek. He wouldn't look me in the eyes till I touched his hand. I dragged him up to my room and had him sit on my bed. He was still wearing my hoodie, but just seemed timid. Gabriel, if you don't want to answer this question, you don't have to, but are you alright? I looked at him and he tried to respond, but he couldn't get himself to talk. When looking at him, he just seemed like he wanted to cry. Gabriel, don't bottle it up, please. It'll just hurt you more to let all of those feelings fester. I heard a knock on my door and saw Gabriel jump. I got up and opened the door to find Mom there. Hey, Victor, did Gabriel ever come over? She asked curiously, after I was worried that he'd try to ditch or something happened. I nodded and she had a sigh of relief. Has he eaten something yet? I have no clue. You could ask him if you want, I said, inviting her into my room. He's over on the bed. Mom looked at him and gasped when she saw him. Oh, my poor dear. Your hair is so messy and you're all bruised up, she said, trying to place a hand on his face like she used to do when we were kids. Have you been eating properly? Gabriel looked away from her eyes, and she seemed to have read into his soul. I'm going to go make you a nice meal. Why not go take a shower? Yes, ma'am, he said, standing up and doing the bow thing that he does whenever he apologizes. Mom left the room and Gabriel is preparing for a shower. Let me know when you're done so that I can help you with your hair and your wounds afterward, so I said, looking at him. If you need clothes, you can pick whichever ones you want from my closet. May I hold on to your hoodie for a while longer? Oh, make sure to give it back at the end of the sleepover, he said quietly, as if he expected to get yelled at for asking for something for once. Of course. If you want, you may hold on to it for the rest of the week, but please return it at the end of the week so I can make sure it gets cleaned, I said, looking him in the eyes and seeing the small little glimmer of joy with the answer I gave him. He took his clothes and he had in his overnight bag and took it to the shower room with a towel I placed out for him. It was about 15 minutes before he came back into my room with some wet hair in his face that he couldn't seem to get out of his face. Come here, I said with a laugh. He walked up to me and sat on the ground right in front of me. Get off the floor. I could brush your hair on my bed, I said as Mom walked into my room to find him on the floor in front of me. Oh, jeez. Sorry, boys. I'll leave the food here. Leave you guys with your things, she laughed. Mom, it's not what it looks. It's not like that, I swear, I said as she placed food in the room. I know, but I thought it would be nice to make the jokes. Plus, I didn't need to worry about your dad hearing the joke, she laughed. I'll see you guys later, though. She left my room and Gabriel stood up and walked over to the bed and sat down there. Why don't you eat first before I do your hair? I suggested. Gabriel removed the hoodie and made himself more comfortable on my bed. No, thank you, I'm not hungry, he said, leaning forward, letting his elbows rest on his knees. Alright, maybe later. You don't mind if I brush your hair? I asked, getting up from my desk and kneeling in front of him. While I'm in front of him, I brushed the hairs in his face off to the side. Go ahead, he said, shaking a bit. I'll be slow about it so we don't set off a panic attack, alright? I said, showing him the brush in my hands. He nodded, and with that confirmation, I took a seat behind him. Let me know if you would like a break from this as well, he said, nodding. We just nodded, and I ran the brush through his hair. For someone that hates his hair being brushed, he has pretty soft hair. He reached up and placed a hand on mine. Would you like me to stop? No. Could you slow down, though? He asked, seeming to expect to be hit for asking the question. Yeah, I said, placing the brush down for a moment and getting a closer look at his arms. I would like to ask about your arms if you wouldn't mind. He seemed to be shaking a great amount, but asked, what about them? I just wanted to know why. I'm sorry for yelling at you earlier about them. I was just concerned after finding you on the floor covered in blood, I said, picking back up the brush and continuing to go through his hair. I'd rather not talk about it, he said quietly. Of course. I'll try to keep more of an even temper, I said, knowing how uneven my temper has been. I finished brushing his hair and found some ribbon that I believe would look good in his hair. Hey, Gabriel, may I try braiding hair? You know what? If you want to, go for it, he said. Sat still as I divided his hair into 3 even sections and braided it. The top and bottom of the braid had silver ribbons that matched his eyes. His eyes were this lovely silver that just seemed so soft and like snow at night. You may hate them, but honestly, you may hate them almost as much as he hates himself. But I find him like a brother to me. There is nothing that he should hate about himself. After a while, I showed him the braid, and he didn't seem to care too much. We didn't stay up very long, but he tried to skip out on eating, so I forced him to eat. He didn't like it very much, but I didn't see him eat all day, and he doesn't exactly like eating much. Gabriel made a blanket nest on the floor that he fell asleep in, and even though we've got to wrap his wounds, I didn't want to disturb his rest to wrap them. I covered him in a blanket before I let the feeling of sleep take me.